Against the Commanders, Aaron Rodgers can't lose 3 in a row.
Yeah, that's right. And so you think to yourself, oh, here's a get-right game. You're playing the Washington Commanders. They just lost their starting quarterback, Carson Wentz. He's going to be out for a while with a finger injury. And you say to yourself, they should win this game easily, right? I got news for you. They're a 4.5-point favorite. They were favored by more than that in London 2 weeks ago against the Giants. They were favored by more than that against the Jets last week at home, and they lost. So my question, RC, I'll start with you, and then I'm coming. RC, what if they don't? Like this feels like the easiest win of the weekend, maybe alongside Tampa's. But the way they've looked, what happens if this team doesn't flip the way we expect them to?
Well, I think this team starts to implode. Right now, we see coach and quarterback saying different things about what they need to do with the offense. You understand, you put all of this work into the defense, all of these draft picks, spent all of this money in free agency, and now that defense isn't playing the way that you expected them to when coming into this season. And this is the first season that Matt LaFleur isn't on pace to win 13 games since he's been the head coach. And there's always been questions about what does Matt LaFleur truly do that Aaron Rodgers doesn't get him to that point to be able to do. And so now with this team playing the Commanders, and I'm going to tell you this, what's sneaky to me is that Carson Wentz isn't playing. And I know Himbo would probably agree with this. Sometimes things get better when Carson Wentz is no longer your quarterback. And now you're putting in a guy, Taylor Heineke, who's always been about energy, who's always been about trying to do his best with a chip on his shoulder, trying to prove people wrong. And to get an opportunity to be inserted into the lineup this week against the Green Bay Packers could actually be a bad thing for them. If the Green Bay Packers lose, and I always talk about Aaron Rodgers' 4 fingers of scotch, it's going to be the whole bottle. And it's going to be one of those reserve bottles that you got to pull off top of the shelf that when you're at TGI Fridays, the lady gets a ladder to make sure she can get it because it's only one bottle because it's too dang expensive to have a lot. When you watch this game, pay attention to energy, pay attention to how bad the Green Bay Packers want to win. Because if they don't win it, it's going to be a huge problem at Lambeau.
That is a fascinating insight. Sacho, take it. How about Green Bay?
Well, even going to that point, not only if they don't win it, it's a huge problem, but look who else is in their division. Minnesota's 5-1 right now. That's a problem. Minnesota, last year we saw the close games they lost. So for me, I watch the Packers, and I don't get intimidated anymore by what I see. Like before, it was like, well, Aaron Rodgers, he's going to figure it out. Even if it's not Devontae Adams, it's Aaron Rodgers is going to do something. Here, it's nothing. You see drop passes, even from the backs. You see fumbles. You don't see anything that gives you any pause. And so that's the issue for me with this Packers team. They're not striking fear into anyone. I don't think that's just the Devontae Adams issue. I think it's a wider problem in that organization.
It's a point really well taken, and I will strike some fear into the hearts of the Packer fans. Brooke, what was it you said this morning that this reminds you of? When you hear Aaron Rodgers say we need to simplify, what did it remind you of?
It reminds me a lot of Ben Roethlisberger and Matt Canada and the conversations that we were having last year. I felt like, they're asking Ben Roethlisberger to learn a new offense. And no, this isn't brand new to Aaron Rodgers. He's been doing this, but he doesn't have the support that he's had before. He wants to simplify it. He wants to go out there. He wants to run a tempo offense. He wants to, keep it simple, stupid, just kicks. Like, that's what they need to do here. And Himbo actually texted me a great stat. Aaron Rodgers is significantly worse, I think 27th in QBR when he holds onto the ball for longer than 2.5 seconds. Get the ball out of his hands, let this offense move freely, and just go. Put egos aside, let Aaron Rodgers do what he does best.
What do you think, Nate?
Grab the Pappy Van Winkle. The season's over if they lose this game. The season is over. Go up on the top shelf just like RC was talking about. Do the whole thing. It's not 3-fingered. Grab the whole bottle. The season is over if they lose this game. I'm telling you, everything will fall apart.
Look, and so we have the picks up there. We can put them up. Does anyone think it's going to happen is the question. I don't see anyone who thinks it's going to happen. But RC, you brought up an interesting point. This is going to sound like a terrible thing to say, but it just is what it is. Almost any other team, you would say, losing their starting quarterback, well, they're finished. Their starting quarterback is Carson Wentz. We've seen good things happen in the past, right, RC, to teams when they lose Carson Wentz.
Well, I think it's the other part is you're actually not going to an unknown quarterback. You're not going to a quarterback that doesn't have a ton of starts under his belt and some success in Taylor Heineke. And the one thing that we've seen from him is when he looks across the other sideline, he actually doesn't care who the other quarterback is. He doesn't care what that jersey looks like or what the logo on the helmet is. He's going out to prove that he belongs. And many of those times he has. This is a guy who's going to add energy to this offense. This is a guy who understands where to put the football and get it in his playmakers' hands, and he's not going to try to do too much. And when you look at this Green Bay defense, they haven't played like they've been expected to the entire season. Don't get me wrong. Jair Alexander on Garrett Wilson last week was a teach tape. But what about the entire team? And so if the Commanders feel like, you know what, we have to play better around Taylor Heineke, but you also get more competent quarterback play, this game's going to be a lot closer than people think when Vegas already feels it's going to be tight.
That's exactly right. They're only a 4.5-point.
It's made up. But there was no pitch count. I was just, we were full go. I'm not just gonna act like I didn't have a broken bone a few weeks ago. So still gonna go through some things, but for the most part, I'm healthy. It feels good. Grab the ball. Ball's comfortable in my hand. My grip's great, and I mean, honestly, putting it behind me and just focusing on this game plan.
All right, so Dak is back. Let's get the easy part of this out of the way. They play the Lions. Cindy put the picks up there. We don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this because this is about a lot more than just one game. As they take on Detroit, you will see the picks in a moment. There's probably not a lot of surprises in your expectation. So, RC, I'm going to ask you a different question. Fill in the blank. The return of a healthy Dak Prescott makes the Dallas Cowboys what?
A Super Bowl contender. A team that should be right below the Eagles when we're thinking about what the NFC presents. Look at everything that the Cowboys did while they had Cooper Rush at quarterback. I mean, so much so, Greeny, you were trying to create a quarterback controversy every Monday morning that we came into work. But Cooper Rush kind of ran its course, and there was so much heat on the defense, so much heat on the offensive line, also the running back position. Now Dak Prescott can pick some of those things up. What's going to be big is for Kellen Moore to understand the things that he learned while calling plays for Cooper Rush, that the run game is important. Protect the offensive line by using the play-action pass, getting the football out of Dak Prescott's hands quickly, and moving the pocket as well to allow Dak Prescott to not have to throw from traffic the entire time. And this defense is top-notch. This defense is not only Super Bowl caliber, it's Super Bowl winning caliber, which is a totally different thing. When you watch the way they rough the passer, defend on the back end, linebackers that run side to side, now with Dak Prescott, this team has everything it needs to win a championship. You said that early on in the season, Mike McCarthy could be your coach of the year. He's going to get an opportunity to show us because he has everything in the cupboard to make the right type of meal to have a ring on their fingers in the offseason.
That's exactly right. Look, Philadelphia Eagles, the good news, you're 6-0. The bad news, the two teams that are closest to you are getting fortified now. The 49ers got Christian McCaffrey. We started there, and now the Cowboys get their quarterback back. How about you? A healthy Dak Prescott makes the Cowboys what?
Still second in the NFC East. I mean, because the way that, for me, it's not just that Philly won, it's the way that Philly won. Last year, we saw Philly run the ball. They were the #1 rushing team. This year, they're #1 in attempts. They're still a top 5 rushing team. So the way they closed out the Dallas Cowboys on the offensive side of the ball against the Cowboys defense, that's what stood out to me. They haven't even really used A.J. Brown to his full extent. So even if Dak is healthy, the way that game went down last week, that brings me pause to say, man, he's going to overtake the Eagles.
Okay, so far I liked RC's better. How about you?
Well, RC made your day. It's a Friday. You're enjoying your Friday. RC, he made your day. He said the Cowboys are Super Bowl
That's my
contenders.
guy.
Well, they will look like Super Bowl contenders against the Lions, okay? They will look like Super Bowl contenders against the Lions. But when Dak comes back, he's going to make this team a little bit better, yes. But I'm still not going to say that the Cowboys are better than the Eagles. The Eagles, they look like the better football team. The Cowboys were talking before the game. The Eagles went out there. They proved to them that they're the better football team. From top to bottom, the roster's better. I'm still going with the Eagles in the division.
All right, so RC and I are right, and you two guys are wrong. Brooke Pryor, where are you?
RC shilling Greeny catnip right now is what I'm
exactly
hearing.
right.
I mean,
That's right.
Look, as much as I want to say, yes, the Cowboys are going to be better, because look, let's be real. Dak is the better quarterback. I need to see it. We can manifest and we can try to speak it into existence as much as we want. I need to see Kellen Moore go out there and use a similar game plan that he used with Cooper Rush. Yes, you can be more aggressive. Yes, Dak is a better quarterback. He makes things more explosive. But you cannot go back to the way things were, where he put everything on his shoulders and things broke down because of it. I need to see him do it in practice. I need to see it in the game.
That's fair. But the reality is sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you turns out to be the best thing that can happen to you. They figured out what they should be in the absence of Dak. Now they plug in one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League with everything in the world to prove. I agree with RC. I think the Cowboys are absolutely a Super Bowl contender, and they start proving it this week. As we roll along, a strong argument can be made that no two people need bigger weeks in the NFL than the two legendary